And Beowulf uttered his final boast. I've never known fear. As a youth I fought in endless battles. I am old now, but I will fight again, seek fame still, if the dragon hiding in his tower dares to face me. I mean to stand, not run from his shooting flames. Stand till fate decides which of us wins. My heart is firm, my hands calm. I need no hot words. Wait for me close by, my friends. We shall see soon who will survive this bloody battle. Stand when the fighting is done. In the 5th century, Germanic warriors stormed Britain's shores. These Germanic invaders built the foundation for English culture, the language of Anglo-Saxons, termed Old English. While this language has largely disappeared, what remains is poetry and prose emblazoned with heroic themes of courage, generosity, strength, and loyalty of warriors and kings. Before the Anglo-Saxons, we have England's oldest known tribes called the Celts. The Celts were made up of two groups: the Britons, who occupied Great Britain's mainland, known today as Scotland, England, and Wales, and the Gaels, who occupied Ireland. As you students of history might have guessed, the Romans arrived in 43 BC, driving the Britons north to Wales or into slavery. Now, by the 5th century AD, Rome retreated, for Rome itself was thwarted by Germanic invasion. Pictured here is the ruler of southeastern Britain during the early days of Anglo-Saxon England, Vortigern. Now, Vortigern must have felt that if you can't beat them, hire them. So he hired the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. These were Germanic tribes, and he wanted the country protected. However, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, much like many to follow and many before them, grew to love England. And in 650 AD, they divided up England into many small kingdoms. After many factions and many wars, by the end of this century, they finally considered themselves one people: English. Incidentally, within this 100-year period, the anonymous poet wrote the epic poem of Beowulf, which we read from this era. Now, historians believe that the poem was written between 700 and 1000 AD. The epic included traces of Christianity and the themes of courage, loyalty, generosity, and strength. Now, a few words on Christianity. By 596 AD, the Pope and Irish monks provided two major aspects to English culture: Christianity and literacy. The Irish monks provided literacy, inculcating the tribes through the universal language of the time, Latin. Now, it is my opinion that England was aided and abetted in its unification by Christianity and literacy. It brought the whole country together. In 829, King Egbert of Wessex unified England. However, the Vikings, known as the Norse, lurked. They once again invaded England, as they would do many times in England's history, particularly during this time. Now, the Norse invaders were primarily Danish, so the Danes attacked with reckless abandon. And here we see some Danes probably on their way to attack England. They sort of made it a hobby. By 879, Alfred defeats the Danes, and by 900, England is united. But wait, the Vikings returned by the late part of the 900s, and by 1016, England, weary of war and reacting to more Viking attacks, turns to a man of Danish ancestry, Prince Canute. And Canute works to unite people of Danish descent with the English. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a quick side note on the Vikings, also known as the Norse, because I guess they come from the North Sea, and also known as the Danes, because they were Danish from Denmark. And our story of Beowulf, our epic poem, will have elements of those two ethnicities. However, the Norse eventually not only wreaked havoc in England, but they also staked claim in the north of France. The north of France, as a tribute to the Vikings, was called Normandy. Now, full disclosure, England was a very easy country to attack. So that's why the Vikings kept going there. And in that time, climate being somewhat warmer, was a very nice place to live. Now, King Canute eventually did provide some stability for England. However, 10 years after his death, all his descendants had met their demise as well. So, England turned to King Edward. Now, this proved somewhat a stroke of genius, for King Edward was of both Norman and Anglo-Saxon descent, so who better than to unite England? Now, that would end the wars, right? Well, as you can see, we're getting to the end of the Anglo-Saxon period, and due to the bloody attacks, the relentless pursuit by the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, the Anglo-Saxon period began in bloodshed and was perhaps destined to end in bloodshed. Prior to his death in 1066, Edward deemed that William, Duke of Normandy, would become king. However, Harold of Wessex had different ideas. So, upon the death of Edward, Harold of Wessex, pictured above, to the right, seized the throne. Now, William of Normandy crossed the English Channel. This is all happening in 1066, and he defeats and killed King Harold in the Battle of Hastings. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Anglo-Saxon period and the poem that we read are violent, are bloody, they're bellicose. In fact, during the Battle of Hastings, William had 3 horses killed underneath him, and begrudgingly, after his thrashing of the Anglo-Saxons, William is accepted as the King of England. So, the era is born in blood, and it dies in blood. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the story of the Anglo-Saxon period. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making this presentation. Thank you very much, and have a good day.